Hey Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and I've got a couple hundred hours of Victoria 3 under my belt, and I feel qualified to talk about the game. Unlike all those other YouTubers who rushed out to give their opinion in the name of views, you can of course 100% trust me to give you the real opinion. Everyone else is fake news. No, in reality, I'm just kind of like a little bit lazy, and I also accidentally got my internet cable cut, like quite literally, physically cut with a cable cutter. I have pictures. So it took me a little bit of time to get this video to you. Now, let's talk about the game overall. As far as I'm concerned, Victoria 3 was a successful launch. It has its problems and it has issues, which we will talk about in a little bit, but I generally like the game. I'm quite happy with the launch. I think this happiness stems from the fact that I don't look at video game development the way that I used to look at it. I think a lot of people still think that games are developed in dark rooms where the only acceptable outcome is a game that's complete and feature rich on launch. The obvious problem is that these things are very, very subjective, and it ignores the reality of how video games are actually developed these days. So in the grim dark past, there was a time when you would just get a game, and maybe if you were lucky, the developers would release a patch to fix some bugs, and you would have to download it and install it manually. Thankfully, we don't live in those dark times anymore, and video games are developed a lot more like live services. Even strategy games like Humankind, Civ 6, and Victoria 3. All of these games rely on a significant amount of post-launch support to develop the game. Now, this comes with obvious risk. If the game doesn't do well and you buy it based on future promise and potential, and then they pull development of the game, you're kind of up shit's creek without a paddle. But on the other hand, in my opinion, I think this has generally led to us getting better games, because now games are developed hand in hand with the community, so major gameplay complaints are typically caught really early and corrected. It's not a perfect system, but it is how things are done, and I think a lot of people would understand the games industry and be a lot less upset if they accepted this fact. I bring this up because it relates to how I feel about Victoria 3. Do I think Victoria 3 is an amazing game? Yes and no. It's really good and it's fun and it's great, but it's also a little bit half-baked. It needs a little bit more time in developing in the oven, and thankfully that development time is going to be done hand in hand with the community, which has me really excited for what is to come from Victoria 3 in the future. Now, in terms of what I like about the game, I really enjoy the economic management. I love shaping my society through laws. I enjoy the high-level gameplay stuff like expanding my empire and my economy. But beyond that, I think the vast majority of the game is just kind of bad. Not terrible, just like not quite fun enough yet. Like, diplomacy, in my opinion, is maybe one of the worst diplomacy systems that has come out of a Paradox game for quite a while. Just on base functionality, like you can't press other people's war goals, you can't make plays on the part of other people, you can't get your overlord to join wars. It's all very awkward and kind of blah, blah, blah. That's how I feel when I interact with the diplomatic system. Most diplomatic interactions are just like binary button presses that depend on improving relations and hoping to get their attitude to improve or just be in the right situation. It's very unmanipulatable. I think EU4 had a very manipulatable and gamey kind of diplomacy system that made it really fun, whereas Victoria 3 doesn't really have that. I really like the EU4 diplomacy system, and I get that each game should probably have its own diplomacy system, but I don't really like the way that it works in Victoria 3 right now. It's just very boring, and it's not how I want a diplomacy system to be. The most controversial system in the game is the war system, which I actually really fundamentally like the ideas behind. I like what's going on with it. I enjoy the war system. I like that I don't have to micromanage units. I like the idea of it all being about the economics of it and stuff like that. All that stuff I really, really like. I just don't really like the implementation of the war system at the moment. I don't like how I lose battles I should very clearly be winning. I don't like how naval invading is like the most optimal way to like win wars right now, because you open up multiple fronts and then you can attack on multiple fronts. I don't like that only one front can attack, or one front line can have one battle or whatever. It's all no, it shouldn't be that way. I don't think so. It's just the system is very opaque and counterintuitive, which makes me not want to interact with it. And this is coming from someone who loves the war system. I love the war system. It is amazing. I love the ideas behind it, but it just doesn't work right now. Not very well. I think that's the best criticism of it. The fact that generals always pull units from the top of the list, leading to like your battalions getting depleted and you're losing wars that you should be winning. I don't like how the number of troops that are assigned to a battle is calculated. There's just so many like little things causing issues here and there that again just makes it unfun to interact with the war system. The game also lacks a lot of flavor. I really don't like how ahistorical it can be. I think Paradox has taken a pretty hard stance against railroading, which I can understand, but there are certain events that are pretty integral to the time period that need a little bit of a nudge in the right direction, like slavery, the American Civil War, for example, or America properly expanding west in general. I think a couple of these things could use like a little bit of numbers adjustments, a little bit of pushes in the right direction. And that's the good thing though, is like most of the issues I have with the game are what I considered tweaker problems, right? They can be fixed without really overhauling the game and just kind of nudging or tweaking the numbers to get them right, to get them in the right place, to get them to feel good. And I think that's honestly, that's a good set of problems to have with a game, is when the numbers can be tweaked to make it better. Where I think the game really shines is the economic end of things. Building up a super powerful economy is super fun. It's really enjoyable to participate in trade and make buildings and choose their production methods and watch pops get richer and so on and so forth. I think there's a lot of stuff missing from the economic system. Like I can't invest in other countries. I can't build factories in other people's countries. That would be kind of cool if I could, open up production, if I could lease land from somebody. Hey, I would at least these coal mines from you for like 100 years. Hey, this is totally an even deal, by the way. These kind of things would be really, really cool. I don't like that I have to rely on other people to develop their economy so that my economy can get some critical resource from them. Yeah, I think I could definitely criticize the game for a lot of different stuff. Like, it's a little bit too hands-on. I kind of wish that capitalists actually expanded the economy on their own. I know you have the auto builder, but I don't like that. I don't like that I have total totalitarian control over the entire economy from day one. I mean, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but to me, Victoria has always been a game series which is a bit like watching an anthill. I could do a lot to influence what my ants do, but fundamentally it should be like herding cats. The simulation should be doing more, in my opinion. Like, why don't aristocrats build more farms when it's profitable to do so? Why don't some of them consider converting to capitalism and starting factories and all this sort of stuff? Like, I think it would be nice if all that stuff happened a little bit without me having to make those decisions. There's more I could talk about, but that's my general summary of the game. As for the questions like, should you buy it? Is it a spud or a dud? Does it cut the mustard? Is it a good game? Personally, I think despite all of its many flaws, I really, really enjoy playing Victoria 3, and I would recommend trying it out if you're curious, especially if it's on sale. If you can get it on sale, go right ahead. If you're excited for it, get it. But I would say generally, if you have less disposable income, or you aren't completely sold on the game yet, I would wait until the first DLC comes out, because I feel like that first DLC and the patches that come in between are really going to set the tone for how Victoria 3 is going to change over the coming years. And my hope for Victoria 3 is that it will have a bright future, because I really enjoy the game. In fact, I would go as far as to say as I love the game, even though I'm critical of it. And I really want to see what the future holds for Victoria 3. That's it from me. I love you all very, very much. Go ahead and give me your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.